In my fantasy DJ utopia, every venue would have a modular DJ setup with a choice of turntables, media players and multiple mixers to suit different styles. Here in the real world, however, most places don't have the budget or the space for that, and so I'm very grateful that this device exists. Welcome to Beat Source Tech, my name is Mojax, and in this episode we look at the XDJ AZ, a product which wouldn't look a whole lot different if I'd designed it myself. Obviously, I've tipped my hand and already given away that I really like the XDJ AZ. So in the interest of balance, before I get into the effusive praise, I'll start this video off by telling you the things which I'm less of a fan of. Number 1. The price. Street price for the AZ is going to be $3,200 in the US. There are countless ways to slice that. It's cheaper than a DJM V10 mixer alone, and well below half the cost of a pair of CDJ 3000s and a DJM A9. But it's also $700 more than the previous XDJ XZ, and over $1,000 more than a Denon DJ Prime 4 Plus. The Opus Quad is also $3,200 though, and that has sold really well, and so clearly the market will sustain these kind of prices. But I'd have been happier to see this come in under the 3K mark, mainly to encourage more venues to buy it over the cheaper but less flexible XDJ RX3. Number 2. No USB-C for media drives. Just days ago I was praising Alpha Theta for pushing forward with USB-C on devices like the Groove 6, so I have to call the AZ out for just having crusty old USB-A ports on the top panel for media drives. It's 2024, USB-C is the standard on nearly all computers, and so this should have been either one USB-C and one USB-A, or ideally two of each. The port on the rear to connect to a computer is USB-C, so I don't understand the inconsistency. And let's be real, an extra USB port or two on the rear of the device for drives wouldn't go amiss either. The Opus Quad got one of those. Number 3. Why are the pads there? On the topic of inconsistency, I don't understand why the performance pads are below the jog wheels on the AZ. The CDJ 3000s have been around for years now with the pads above the jogs. The Opus Quad has them there too, and we've just had the Groove 6 with the pads in that same position again. Now, to be honest, as much as I get on fine with pads above the jog wheels, I actually prefer them where they are here on the AZ. But as a company, they need to make their minds up about this one way or another. Number 4. Lack of streaming services. The AZ supports Beatport streaming in standalone like the CDJ 3000s do, and as a heavy user of that service I can tell you it works great. But I also use BeatSource obviously, and that's not included, and nor are any other streaming services. If we're saying that streaming music is going to be a significant part of the future of DJing, which I certainly am, then more platforms need to be supported. That's one area where the competition, Engine OS, has a clear lead still. Number 5. Lack of screen layout options. Another area where Engine OS wins is in display options. That offers a fully customizable layout, whereas on the AZ we don't have the ability to switch up and see 4 big waveforms at once even. I still find the AZ's display perfectly usable and practical, but the competition does have the edge there. Number 6. Serato support is coming soon. One of the issues around the XDJ XZ's launch was that the promised Serato support only showed up like 3 months later. For the AZ, it's apparently slated for December 2024, 2 months after the hardware release. I don't know if this is Alpha Theta's fault or Serato's, but it's not good enough. It should be there on day one. Number 7. Why is this an Alpha Theta product? This one is less a thing I dislike and more something that perplexes me. When the Alpha Theta branding became a thing, I was told there would be more products under the Pioneer DJ name. And if I was a betting man, I'd have staked everything on the AZ being one of those. It's pro-level club gear, a successor to a hugely popular Pioneer DJ product, and yet it says Alpha Theta on it. To confuse matters further, when they showed me the AZ for the first time, I asked them to explain this, and they assured me again that yes, there will be more new Pioneer DJ products, and that I can tell you that. So if not this, then what? To be frank, I'd rather they stop faffing about and just make everything Alpha Theta from now on. Rip the band-aid off. So with all of that out of the way, why do I love the XDJ AZ so much? Well, let's look at my history with the XDJ XZ. Due to pandemic quirks and that late delivery of Serato support, I had the XZ in hand for months back in 2020, far longer than I do most products. And in that time, I got very comfortable with it indeed. It's a great professional device, which I really enjoyed using. But as I also said in my final review, it did feel like the end of a generation for rekordbox standalone, with 2 standalone playback decks in a 4-deck body, as if they had reached the limits of their existing tech. And that turned out to be true. We soon saw the CDJ 3000, which had way more power under the hood and a much better display, and in 2021 that was followed by the XDJ RX3, which took most of that extra juice and put it into an all-in-one for the first time. Then in 2023 came the Anomaly, the Opus Quad, which was a Pioneer DJ product, but definitely should have been the first device released under Alpha Theta branding. If you go back and watch my review of that, it's clear that I wasn't a huge fan of the aesthetic choices made with it. I actually think it looks horrible, but in terms of functionality, it is absolutely a winner. It has 4 decks standalone, can handle streaming, although that's still not in there at the time of making this video, and it just feels like a real current contemporary device. I knew from the start that not everyone would share my thoughts on the looks of the Opus, and it would be a big seller, and that proved to be the case. It's very popular with DJs who are more in tune with that aesthetic than I am. But the whole time I was using the Opus, I was wishing that instead it was a unit with the tech from that, but with the layout and build of the XZ. And that's what the XDJ AZ is. Thanks for watching this episode of BeatSource. No, I'm just playing. Let's get into some details. First of all, let's look at the one big actual innovation here, Sonic Link for the headphones. The AZ has both sizes of headphone jack socket, but also includes a built-in transmitter to connect to the XDJ F10 headphones via Alpha Theta's low latency wireless system. And as is the case when using those with their external transmitter, the experience is fantastic, but here you have one less thing to charge. The 2 wired sockets still work when Sonic Link is active too, so back-to-back sets are no problem if one DJ is using wireless. The company still need to release more headphone models and ideally a belt pack receiver, because as I said in my review, the F10s just aren't for everyone, but this is a great addition and I fully expect to see it included in all pro level kits from them in the future. The build quality is much the same as the XZ, and I've played out on enough 4-year-old XZs at this point to know they are hard-wearing and reliable. If nothing else, the larger number of physical controls on here makes it feel more sturdy than the Opus Quad, even if that's just psychological. The screen is very similar to the one on the Opus, a spacious 10.1 inches in size with responsive capacitive touch, and it's bright with wide viewing angles. The main contact points are all good. I'll show you the jog wheels later, but they're mechanical and feel almost identical to those on the CDJ 3000, and they have the same tension adjustment. The faders have a well-balanced feel, and although the crossfader isn't one of the company's Magville units, it has a tight and sharp cut-in. When it comes to the sound, the specs of the AZ appear to be roughly on par with the DJM A9, and in use I think most people would be hard pushed to tell any difference. I don't think either of them are quite up there with Pioneer DJ's best sounding DJM, the V10, but I suspect that's more of a voicing thing than anything else. The AZ, like the A9, is designed to be as neutral as possible. The same goes for the phono preamps. If you're a dedicated vinyl DJ, well, firstly I don't know why you'd buy something like this, where your turntables will be miles apart, but yes, there are better preamps out there. However, if you're a mostly digital DJ who also enjoys spinning some records, then the AZ will do the job for you perfectly well. On the subject of inputs, things are a little stripped back compared to the XZ, but not really in a negative way. On the rear are 2 XLR and jack combo sockets for the mics, and then instead of separate line and phono RCAs for channels 3 and 4, you get a single switchable pair for each. The extra dedicated RCA aux input from the XZ is gone, but that's been replaced with Bluetooth instead, which can be assigned to either of the outside 2 channels. It's more basic than the Bluetooth feature on the Omnis Duo. It doesn't cache the audio to a deck for mixing or anything like that, but if you simply need to play some audio into the mixer from a phone or tablet, it works great. The outputs are the Pioneer DJ / Alpha Theta Pro Standard, balanced XLR master out as well as unbalanced RCAs and balanced jacks for the booth. The Opus had an extra XLR zone output, but that was specifically aimed at mobile DJs, so won't really be missed here. When it comes to Pro DJ Link, the AZ only has 1 Ethernet port as opposed to the 3 on the XZ, but I was delighted to find that with the standard network switch, as you'd use with a DJM rig, you can still link up a pair of CDJ 3000s and use the AZ as the hub of a setup with 4 physical decks. I can't imagine, given the cost, that it's an option that many people will use, but it's definitely nice that it's possible. The AZ does have Wi-Fi, which the XZ didn't, so you can connect wirelessly at home, in the studio, or in venues with good Wi-Fi to use streaming or Cloud Direct Play. Power is delivered by a full-size IEC connector, always my preference, although for this money I would have preferred a locking one, like on the 3000s and the A9. That couldn't really cost more than a couple of extra bucks to spec, and it does provide some extra reassurance. I already mentioned the USB-C port for connecting to a computer, and that works as expected. I wasn't able to get my hands on a beta of Serato DJ Pro to use with the AZ during my testing period, but it will hardware unlock the full version of that, and of course it's supported in Rekordbox Performance mode, which I did try and that worked very well. Although there's only one USB port for a computer, a massive advantage Rekordbox standalone gear has always had over the competition is the ability to seamlessly switch between USB playback and a computer, which is absolutely essential in an install situation. Right, so I'm going to run you through the functionality on the AZ. This might not take as long as you might perhaps expect, and that's because there isn't really much new here, but that's a good thing. As I've said, you know, this is an evolution of the 3000s and the A9 combined, along with the Opus Quad and along with the previous XZ. That's what this is. I wasn't looking for any surprises. I didn't want any surprises, and I don't have any surprises, but that's absolutely fine with me. We've got the power of the Opus Quad up here, so we've got the 4 decks, of course. We have the ability to play from the cloud library, Beatport streaming as well. I've got an Ethernet cable hooked up, but you can go with Wi-Fi as well. It has the Wi-Fi in there. Then once we've chosen our source and I've chosen a local stick, we can then browse, so we can choose, go through our playlists, all touch friendly, etc. And then we can change the sort by BPM, we can sort by key, we can add in, we can sort by track, we can add in different fields if we want to. It's all there, all working as you might expect. We have the waveforms there, you can turn those on or off, but if you have them on, then you can turn on the link queue. Now I can hear that in my headphones. You can't hear that, but I'm now hearing those tracks before loading them to a deck. All happy with this. This is all, you know, standard stuff that we've seen before. We've got the info as well, so we can see more about the tracks that we're scrolling through. And again, this is all touch. We can also load a track via holding down with a long press, lift up your finger, and it will ask you which deck you want to load it to. So I can put that one over onto deck 2. Now we're into the playback screen. We have the 4 waveforms at the bottom. If you want, you can just have 2 if you prefer. So we've got the 4 waveforms there. We have the ability to go through different keys. So we shift the keys up and down. We can eject as well from that. So we can eject, unload a deck. We can then also choose single continuous play, smart queue, which is a fantastic feature. If I go back to hotkey mode on here, if I press hotkey 1 and then hit the temp queue button, that is temp queue now, number 1. But if I go number 2 and then hit the temp queue, that is now there. And you can turn that on or off, but I love that feature. That's come from the Opus, and I think it's a fantastic feature. I really, really like that. Then we've got the tag list, of course. You can just tag tracks in the browse to add them to your tag list. We've got the playlist, which first was seen, I think, on the RX3. So you've got playlist banks you can add there. We've got a search with full QWERTY keyboard. And yeah, all great as far as I'm concerned. They're the typical track filter, so we can choose our parameters and filter via different things. That's been around for a while as well in the Rekordbox standalone. And then when we're browsing, we can hit the track filter and it will trim down our visible tracks to show stuff that is compatible according to our own parameters that we've chosen. Got the shortcut menu, so that will let you choose the quantized value, the vinyl speed, touch and release. So I'm just going to go, you need to turn that on here, the vinyl speed adjust. So if I do touch and release, and we turn that up to 5. I typically just do it for touch. Still annoys me that this is not a button. Like that was in, I think, the RX3 originally. That still annoys me that because it looks like a touch element and it's not. But you know, that's how it is. It's how it's been. We can choose artwork or a custom image that we've got loaded onto our stick. For the artwork on display and the pad info display, you can also turn on and off. So that gives you a waveform and your pad information right there, which is really handy. That's also on the playback screen, I'll show you. And you can turn that on or off with a double tap on shift as well, which I really like. You can choose the waveform divisions and the current position of the waveform, center or to the left. Let's turn browse off. As you can see, we've got the different display there for your different pad modes. Let's quickly run into those. So we've got hot queue, gate queue. I'll just turn that on the deck as well. Gate queue, beat loop with the different divisions, beat loop 2 with different lengths, slip loop, again different lengths, and then we've got key shift as well with the reset, and then beat jump, again different lengths of beat jump. So the pads all just work really, really nicely. You know, they do what they say, which is always a good thing. They do exactly what they say on them. That's what we want. Again, no surprises. No surprises is what we're after. The mixer stuff is interesting because, of course, you know, look at it, it looks like an A9, it looks like an XE. You've got the standard effects. There's no new effects here. I'm not even barely going to show you the effects, right? I've got them on the mic at the moment. But let's put them onto deck 1. Got the beat adjustment. You can see what's going on with the effects up there. And with the X pad, you've got the effects frequency, and it remembers that according to what you've set for each effect. So yeah, I've got the low turned off on the echo, go to ping pong and it's not turned off, go back to echo and it's turned off again. You've got the buttons to select like on the A9, so crossfader A, crossfader B, they're post crossfader on crossfader A, and they're post fader when set to the channels. Just, it's the standard Pioneer DJ now alpha theta way. Again, really no effects that you've not seen before. We've got triplet filter, we've got triplet roll, Mobius is cool, you might not have come across that one. You've got the quantize, the tap and all that. So, but again, nothing we haven't seen before, but all work great, sound great. They're what I wanted. Same goes for the sound color effects. Dub echo, sweep, filter with the parameter control, noise, crush and space. Then the layout is of course very familiar. You've got the VU meters, you've got the 3-band EQ, trim controls. When it comes to headphones, we've got that link Q. We've also got the Q Master blend knob and the level control there, and the master Q is up the top there. But you'll notice what we are missing is a lot of settings. Where's all the the crossfader assignment and stuff? Well, that's all in this button here, mixer settings. Love this, absolutely love this. This is brilliant. So you can assign the crossfader A, B or through for each channel. You've got split Q, assignable right there. Link preview volume, if it's too loud, you can bring it down. Crossfader and channel fader curves. Then we have the deck 3 and 4 input select. There's no physical switches like on the XE. Instead, we have the deck, we have line, phono, and Bluetooth as well. You can do the Bluetooth like you could on the Omnis Duo. That was the first time we saw that, I think. Then we've got the feedback reducer for the mic. The beat effects can be assigned to mic 1, mic 2, or both. Then you can choose whether you want to record, unlike on the XZ, which could only record onto USB 2. You can choose which source you want to record to, and you can choose whether or not the mic also goes to the recording, and you can mark a track. Once it's recording, you can do a track mark on it as well. Really love this screen. It's just all there, and it's funny seeing that picture of it there. It just looks like, you know, a 900, looks like an A9 from the center, and it just shows you how familiar this layout is. But yeah, all good with that. The deck controls, you know, we've got again, so the regular CDJ style cue and play pause buttons. We've got the search, the track search, the pad info display, as you can say, we can turn that on, we can turn it off, whatever we want to do. Then we've got the slip reverse and reverse on shift, beat jump, and you can adjust the value of that as well. So we hold shift and adjust the value of the beat jump. And you can see that there changing on the screen. So that's you've got multiple ways to access beat jumps here. We've got 4-beat loop and 8-beat loop, and we can halve or double with those two. We've got the standard CDJ style in, out, and reloop exit buttons, memory cue, call, and delete and add, so you can do that from there. Then of course we have got the jog wheels themselves, which are basically CDJ 3000 jog wheels. Which I'm just totally happy with. They feel just like the 3000s and they're great. So yeah, happy with that. You've got the adjustment, of course. So So we can go from a very loose feel to a much heavier feel, whatever your preference is, and then big illuminated buttons for the deck select. And yes, I would have liked the option to have all 4 big waveforms on screen at once. That would have been cool. It's not there. But I didn't expect it. It wasn't in the Opus. I didn't expect it here, and it's not here. That's one thing I would have liked to see. But you've got the option for either, yeah, your 2 decks or the 4 decks with the smaller waveforms below. It seamlessly switches over between them. So you absolutely can do 4 deck mixing on this thing. There is just a bit of layering involved. As you'd expect, it's only got 2 jog wheels, but yeah, all good there. Microphone wise, yeah, we've got the 2 mics up here. We've got the talk over. We have the EQs for each, so separate EQs for both. I'm speaking into it now, so you can hear it sounds decent enough. There is a clip light as well if it's too loud. And we've got the push to talk thing that's come from the A9 as well. Over here with the master, we've got the EQ for the master. I've actually found that really handy with the XZ. I didn't think I would, but I'm glad to see master EQs showing up a bit more. Booth level, and of course the VU meters for that, and then your 2 USB ports over here. So when it comes to this functionality, as I say, there aren't any big surprises here. Oh, and I will say as well, we've got the on-air display, which is cool. So if I go to, there we go, deck 3, we've got an on-air display there on the screen, and the jog wheel illumination turns red, just like it does on properly linked up 3000s. Love that feature. It's great, you know, kind of shortcut in the booth just to see what's active and what's not. We have the utility menu, all your different options in there as well. Can be messed with directly there. Networking and all of that. So we've got the Bluetooth, we've got the Wi-Fi, that's all in there. Audio output you can change, of course. This is all the pro level stuff. It's what you'd expect, right? It is just what you'd expect. And that is not damning with faint praise. That is not, you know, a kind of sly dig at this thing. This is what I wanted. I wanted it to give me no surprises. I wanted it to be an XZ with the guts of an Opus Quad. And that's basically what it is. So for me, that makes me very happy. Before we wrap up, one final note on using a computer with the XDJ AZ. My preferred setup, my tech rider when I have one, is turntables and a DJM S11. But in the past couple of years when I've played at places that don't have turntables, I have mostly encountered XDJ RX3s and XDJ XZs. Now, the RX3 is a solid piece of kit, but I much prefer the larger CDJ sized jog wheels on the XZ and now the AZ. And although I do play standalone off USB sticks on those devices sometimes, I'm usually hooking up my laptop and using Serato, mostly for one main reason: stems. Now, some of you watching this are going to be annoyed that the AZ doesn't have stems in it, and I hear that frustration, but I'm being pragmatic about this, and I reckon personally that we're still about 3 or 4 years away from real-time stem separation in good enough quality on standalone hardware. I'd love to be proved wrong on that, but that's my take on it today. The Engine OS team announced it a while back, but that seems to have been shelved, at least for now. Perhaps there will be some kind of stopgap with pre-prepared stems, but on the fly, I just can't see it yet. When it comes to buying an AZ, well, if you're buying one for yourself, you're probably a standalone user and are already used to not having stems, so you won't miss it. But when DJs like myself encounter this hardware in venues, then it works very nicely as a controller, just like the XZ did before it. So I can open up Serato and merrily use my stems all day. And that's really the beauty of the XDJ AZ. Play off USB sticks, 4 decks with all the power you need. But it can also work perfectly for users of Rekordbox Performance Mode, Serato DJ Pro, and no doubt Virtual DJ and DJ Pro soon enough. As with its predecessor, this one is a workhorse designed for pro-level environments, and whilst it isn't the flashiest thing in the world, when it comes to performance and flexibility, it absolutely delivers. I understand that not everyone loves the industry behemoth that is Alpha Theta / Pioneer DJ. I do get it. But in the intro to this video, I talked about fantasy versus reality, and the fact is that Rekordbox Standalone is incredibly popular with DJs all over the world. Here in the UK, any venue that specs kit which doesn't support that is seriously reducing the pool of DJ talent they can draw upon. And as much as I prefer modular setups myself, all-in-ones have taken a huge chunk of the professional market in recent years. They're more practical in many ways and are certainly more affordable. So if I'm going to arrive at a venue and they have an all-in-one, I want it to be the AZ. The key word here is flexibility. It works for open format, hip hop, house, techno, any genre you like. It has the latest rekordbox standalone features, but also switches over seamlessly to running software, and has all the connectivity you could need. It may not get my blood pumping with exciting innovations like some products do, but then it simply doesn't need to. Overall, it may not be completely perfect. No DJ gear ever could be, but it is close enough for me. In the comments, let us know your thoughts on the XDJ AZ and how you got on with the XZ previously. And do you think all-in-ones are the future, or will modular make a comeback? Thanks for watching this episode of Beat Source Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you've turned on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you next time.